All right, everyone. Are you ready to dive into some seriously fascinating stuff today? We are talking about the psychology of attraction.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
We are going to figure out why we are drawn to certain people, why some people, just have that it fact. What is it about them?
Yeah, like what's the secret sauce?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to help us unpack all of this, we're going to be taking a look at this source. It's called The Psychology of Attraction: 3 Hidden Signals That Make Someone Obsessed with You.
Okay, that title is a little bit intense, maybe a tad dramatic.
Right. It sounds a little bit clickbaity, but we're going to go beyond, just the surface level stuff and really try to understand the science, the real psychology that underpins all of this.
Yeah, a lot of times we talk about attraction in terms of looks, but this source dives deeper into the emotional side of things.
Ooh, interesting. So it's not just about, being physically attractive.
No, not at all. It's more about the feelings someone evokes in us. The emotional triggers that make them irresistible.
I'm intrigued already. So are you saying that we don't always fall for the objectively, quote unquote, best person, but rather the person who makes us feel a certain way?
That's exactly what this source is suggesting. It's all about how someone makes us feel.
Wow. Okay. I am so ready to unpack this. Let's dive into the details. How does this all actually work?
Well, the first point they emphasize is that attraction is primarily emotional, not physical.
Okay. So it's not about appearances.
No, it's about the feelings someone evokes in us rather than just how they look.
All right. So how does that play out in real life? What triggers those feelings?
Think of it like this. Our brains are constantly making associations between experiences and emotions.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
It's called emotional anchoring, and it's similar to how, Pavlov's dogs learn to salivate at the sound of a bell. We create these subconscious links between sensory details and the emotions we felt at the time.
Ah, so it's like we're programmed to connect certain feelings with certain experiences?
All right, so let's say you had an amazing first date at this cozy little Italian restaurant, right? The smells, the candlelight, the conversation,
I can picture it.
all of those details get linked together. And later on, you might find yourself drawn to someone who reminds you of that experience, even if it's just like a subtle scent or a similar atmosphere.
So it's not just random chance. Our past experiences are shaping our preferences without us even realizing it.
Exactly. And this source argues that there are 3 specific psychological signals that tap into these deep-seated emotional anchors.
3 signals. Okay. I'm all ears. I need to know what these are.
They claim that these signals can actually make someone obsessed with you. But, we'll see about that.
All right, spill the beans. What's the first signal?
It's called the scarcity effect.
Scarcity effect. Okay, I think I've heard of this before.
You're probably familiar with this in other areas of life.
Like what?
Think about limited edition sneakers or concert tickets that are almost sold out.
Oh, yeah. Why do we suddenly want those things so much more?
Exactly, because they're scarce.
All right, it's like our brains say, ooh, I got to have that. It's special because not everyone can get it.
Scarcity creates a sense of exclusivity and value when something's easily available. We tend to take it for granted, but when it's rare or hard to obtain, our brains perceive it as more valuable.
So in the context of attraction, this means playing hard to get is actually backed by science.
Essentially, yes.
Right.
This source claims that being too available can actually diminish attraction.
Really? So the more you chase someone, the less they want you.
It can definitely have that effect. They suggest things like delayed text replies, not always saying yes, giving someone a taste of your attention and then pulling back.
Like a game.
It can feel that way. These are all tactics designed to trigger that feeling of scarcity.
That's pretty interesting. But I'm also a little bit skeptical. Like, is there a line between, playing it cool and actually being manipulative?
That's a valid point. It's important to be mindful of how these techniques are used.
Right. Like the goal shouldn't be to trick someone into liking you.
Absolutely. Authenticity and respect should always be at the forefront.
So scarcity effect, it's all about sparking desire by not being too easy to obtain. Okay, what about the next psychological signal?
This one is called the emotional roller coaster effect.
Emotional roller coaster effect. Whoa, that sounds intense. Are we talking about like drama and breakups?
Not necessarily. Think of it more like those TV shows you just can't stop watching. The ones with cliffhangers and plot twists that keep you on the edge of your seat.
Okay, yeah, I get that. I'm a total sucker for a good cliffhanger.
Right. It's all about keeping things interesting and exciting.
So you're saying that in relationships, a little bit of unpredictability can be a good thing?
Absolutely. It all ties into how our brains are wired for pleasure and reward.
Dopamine.
Exactly. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that gets released when we experience something pleasurable, and unpredictable experiences trigger those dopamine hits, making us crave more.
So if someone is always predictable and, quote, unquote, nice, it can actually make them less attractive.
That's what this source suggests.
Wow, okay. I would have thought being nice is always a good thing.
Being kind is important, of course, but this source is saying that incorporating elements of teasing and challenge, instead of being agreeable all the time, can actually make you more attractive.
So a little bit of playful banter, a little push and pull.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about creating a bit of tension and keeping the other person guessing.
So instead of trying to be perfectly nice all the time,
Yeah.
it's actually better to show a bit more personality and even playfully challenge the other person.
That's the idea. It's about creating that spark of excitement and intrigue.
I've definitely noticed that in my own life. I remember one time I was at this party and there's this guy who kept like teasing me about my dance moves,
Oh, no.
but like in a playful way, not mean or anything.
Okay.
And at first I was a little taken aback, like, who is this guy?
Hmm.
But then we started bantering back and forth.
Oh.
And honestly, it was kind of fun. Like, it created this spark. And I ended up having a great time talking to him.
See, that's a perfect example of how a little playful tension can actually boost attraction.
It's like it keeps things interesting, right?
Exactly. It breaks the monotony and keeps you engaged.
So are we saying, like, ditch the nice guy or nice girl act?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Being kind and respectful is always a good foundation.
Right, of course.
But I think what this source is getting at is that if you're always trying to please everyone and avoid any kind of friction, it can actually backfire.
Like, people can sense when you're not being genuine.
Exactly. And that can be a turnoff. It's much more attractive to be your authentic self, even if that means you're not always perfectly agreeable.
It's like they can sense that desperation to be liked.
Right. And that's not attractive.
Okay, so we've got scarcity. We've got emotional roller coaster. What's the third psychological signal this source talks about?
This one is called the mirror effect.
The mirror effect. Okay, I'm picturing someone like copying my every move. Is that what we're talking about?
Not exactly. It's not about being a creepy copycat.
Okay, good.
Mirroring is more about subtly reflecting someone's behavior to create a subconscious sense of connection.
So it's about like finding common ground.
In a way, yes. Have you ever noticed how you naturally mirror the body language of someone you feel comfortable with?
Now that you mention it, I think I have. Like, if someone leans in, I might lean in too, or if they cross their arms, I might do the same.
Exactly. It's a natural human tendency, and it's all thanks to these things called mirror neurons in our brains.
Mirror neurons, what are those?
These neurons fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else doing that same action.
Whoa, so my brain is basically simulating what it's like to be that other person.
Kind of, yeah. And that process of simulation helps us understand and connect with others on a deeper level.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing. Our brains are so cool.
They really are. So in the context of attraction, this mirroring effect can be used to create a sense of rapport and understanding.
Okay, so how do we do that without being too obvious?
It's all about subtlety. Pay attention to things like body language, speaking, pace, even word choice.
So if someone is speaking slowly, I should slow down my speech too.
You could try that. Or if they use certain phrases, you might naturally incorporate those into your conversation as well.
It's like you're trying to get on the same wavelength.
Exactly. You want to create a sense of harmony and connection.
I'm just imagining myself trying to consciously mirror someone, and it feels a little awkward.
Oh, the key is to be subtle. You don't want to make it obvious.
Right, just feel natural.
Exactly.
So to sum up this mirror effect, it's all about creating a sense of we're on the same page by subtly reflecting the other person's behavior.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these small cues can have such a big impact on our interactions.
All right, so we've covered all three psychological signals from the source: scarcity, emotional roller coasters, and mirroring. They call this like the ultimate attraction formula, but
Yeah.
honestly, it still feels a bit simplistic to me. Like, there's got to be more to it than just these three things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Attraction is complex, and these signals are just a few pieces of the puzzle.
Right, it's not some magic formula.
Exactly, things like shared values, compatibility, genuine connection, those are all crucial for building a lasting bond.
So while these techniques might help grab someone's attention initially, they're not a guarantee for finding true love.
Exactly. It's important to keep things in perspective.
This has been super interesting, but I'm also curious, do you think these signals could be applied in other areas of life, like beyond romantic attraction? What about friendships or professional relationships?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is yes. These principles of human psychology can definitely apply in other social situations.
Like, for example, the scarcity effect could be useful in networking, right? If you position yourself as someone with valuable skills and limited availability, You might become more sought after.
Absolutely. And think about the emotional roller coaster effect in the context of public speaking. Instead of giving a flat, predictable presentation, you can incorporate humor, storytelling, moments of suspense to keep your audience engaged.
It's all about understanding how to capture and hold people's attention.
Exactly. And the mirror effect could be incredibly useful for building rapport and trust in any relationship.
By subtly reflecting someone's body language and communication style, you can create that sense of empathy and understanding.
Right. It's like you're speaking their language.
It's like we've unlocked a secret code book for human interaction.
In a way, yes. But as with any powerful tool, it's important to use it wisely and ethically.
Right, we don't want to manipulate or exploit anyone.
Exactly. The goal is to use this knowledge to enhance your genuine self-expression and create more authentic connections.
So it's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about using these insights to better connect with others.
Exactly.
Our deep dive into the psychology of attraction has been so eye-opening. It's not just about looks. It's about understanding the forces that drive human connection.
And while this source offered some interesting hacks, it's ultimately up to each of us to decide how we use this knowledge.
So listeners, as you go about your day, pay attention to the subtle dynamics at play in your interactions. Notice how people respond to scarcity, to emotional highs and lows, to mirroring.
You might be surprised by what you discover, and who knows, you might even find yourself becoming a bit more magnetic in the process.
Until next time, stay curious, be mindful, and stay connected.
Oh.
It's really interesting to think about how these signals could apply, in everyday life, not just in romantic situations.
Yeah, it's like you said before, maybe some people are already using these techniques without even realizing it.
Right. And I think that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating. It's like we're uncovering these hidden dynamics that are always at play, whether we're aware of them or not.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that, the goal here isn't to become some kind of master manipulator.
Right. It's not about like tricking people into liking you.
No, it's about understanding these principles so we can use them ethically and authentically.
So it's more about like self-awareness and understanding how our behavior impacts others.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You wouldn't use a hammer to fix everything, right? You choose the right tool for the job.
Okay, that makes sense.
And these psychological signals, they're tools. It's up to us to use them appropriately and with good intentions.
Right. We wouldn't want to go around hammering every social interaction into submission.
No, definitely not. The point is to use these insights to become more effective communicators and build stronger connections with people.
So really it all starts with being aware, our own behavior and how it affects the people around us.
Absolutely. Awareness is key.
So listeners, we encourage you to really pay attention to these dynamics in your own lives.
Yeah.
Notice how people respond when you create a sense of scarcity, or when you inject a little bit of playful tension, or when you subtly mirror their behavior.
Yeah, you might be surprised by what you discover about yourself and about the people you interact with.
And remember, at the end of the day, the most attractive quality you can possess is authenticity, being yourself, connecting with others. Genuinely, that's what really matters.
I completely agree.
Well, this deep dive into the psychology of attraction has been a real eye-opener. We've learned that it's so much more than just looks.
It's about the emotional and psychological forces that draw us to certain people.
And it's been fascinating to unpack all of that with you today.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about this stuff.
To all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this exploration, and remember, stay curious.